You made this decision long ago. The Empire cannot win. You're coming home to yourself.
Hello and welcome back to another We Ourselves video. Today, I want to talk about everybody's favorite director, James Gunn, and talk about his comments that people who say that his movie needs to make a certain amount of money to be profitable, that they don't know how Hollywood works. And in one sense, I want to say he's right, but not in the way you think. And we're going to talk about that today. We all know the controversy surrounding Superman. You have all those super supportive people, those shills, if you want to call them that, for the movie, who are trying to compare it constantly to previous movies and saying that it's breaking records. But when they are proven wrong over and over again, they immediately change their tact and say, well, you can't compare the Superman to previous iterations. The hell we can't. You were the ones who were doing it. And so that gets everybody going around and around. And one of the biggest controversies is how much money did James Gunn's Superman actually make at the box office? And the closely second controversy was how much did the thing actually cost to make? What was the actual production budget? Many of us know that we can determine if a movie broke even or was profitable, and the method that we use is the same method that even Gunn supporters have used for years when talking about every other movie. And if that's not enough, in the midst of all this, you have James Gunn saying that his movie didn't need to make a certain amount. You know, 2.5 is production budget, or $700 million to be profitable. And he feels that the people who say that don't know what they're talking about or don't understand Hollywood.
If winning is not important, then Commander, why keep score?
Even if you take WB's own numbers, the $225 million for the budget, and their minimum number for marketing, $100 million, and you add it together is $325 million. Well, as of August 27th, the movie is at $604 million worldwide. And everybody knows that half the box office goes to the exhibitors, domestic and foreign, which means that WB only got back half of that, $302 million, which means they did not make a profit, let alone break even. You see, when he says that the movie doesn't have to reach a certain amount of money to be profitable, he always leaves off that last little bit of the sentence because he's talking about profitability for him and Peter Safran. When I finished my undergraduate degree, I actually went to work as a professional videographer. And I did a lot of corporate videos and managed to insert some creativity into the projects. But I really wanted to be more creative. I wanted to be a storyteller. I wanted to make films. So I decided to go to graduate film school. But by the time I went to graduate film school, I actually had worked as a producer, or what we call now a content producer. I had created programming for a cable access or linear channel. So unlike many of my peers who wanted to be the latest, Spike Lee or John Singleton or whatever, I didn't want to be a director. I wanted to be a producer. And in the course of going through my graduate film studies, we talked about a particular film, a low-budget black film, that got, I think it was in the 60s or 70s, it got $2 million to make a movie. But when it came time to do the actual production, he only had $1 million for the actual production. And of course, all of us had the question, and he answered the question in the documentary. He said, well, the producers came in and they took half the budget off the top. So the budget on paper was $2 million, but half of that went to the producers, leaving only half the budget for the production. That always stuck with me, that producers get paid a hell of a lot of money. And isn't it interesting that nobody ever talks about how much money they, the producers, get paid? And that brings me all the way back to James Gunn and this whole thing about him and his new position. This Superman movie, regardless of what it made at the box office, even if it had been a total flop, it was profitable for James Gunn. How? Because James Gunn got 3 checks from Superman 2025, formerly Superman Legacy. He was the writer and director, and he told us that he got $15 million for doing both of those. But James Gunn is now producer. So that $15 million, we are told, interesting enough, he got paid for both directing and writing. I don't know why they didn't tell us the individual amounts, just the total. But notice that what they did not tell us. They did not tell us how much he got paid as a producer on the film. He didn't do it for free, and I find that really interesting. Now, we all know what A-list actors get paid, like Robert Downey Jr. or, Mr. Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise and people like that. We know what the main Superman actors got paid. And you will sometimes hear what a director made. Sometimes, like if they make a production deal, like Rian Johnson did with Netflix for $400 million to do the next 2 Knives Out movies. Or J.J. Abrams, who was going to get over $500 million from WB to develop new shows for them, and then it was sliced down to $250 because he wasn't producing anything. But even then, we don't really know what these directors paid themselves out of the development deals. But you notice that nobody ever, if rarely, talks about what producers are paid. And that brings me to my point. Superman did not have to make $700 million to be profitable for James Gunn. When we mentioned the Suicide Squad that lost WB somewhere between $100 million and $200 million, we failed to appreciate that even that movie was profitable for James Gunn. He wasn't a producer, but he was the writer and director, and he got paid. Now, his friend, Peter Safran, was a producer on that film, and I'm betting the Suicide Squad was also profitable for Peter Safran. All of this makes that quote by Christopher Lee, it makes that quote make even more sense because James Gunn has now reached the level of studio head and producer. James Gunn is going to be listed as producer on all the DCU films that come out. How much will he get paid for each of those movies while also still getting his 7-figure salary as co-head of DC Studios? Like I said, now Lee's comment makes more and more sense, particularly when you apply it to James Gunn. He has now entered the realm of a top producer.
You see this all the time at the level of a top producer who, between them or separately, will make flop after flop after flop after flop. I'm not going to name them, but I know who they are. And they're not all American either. And they still get paid huge sums of money for being in films that nobody wants to see.
Notice what he says, folks. These top producers who make flop after flop after flop, they still get paid enormous sums of money to make movies nobody sees. And probably make even more money if it's a film that people actually see.
And producers make pictures out of which they take enormous sums of money. And the films, again, are not films people want to see. They're always going to blame somebody else. Always. Not their fault. No, you were the one who said, or whatever.
Didn't James Gunn and company do this very thing? They blamed the lack of overseas interest on the lack of knowledge of Superman, which is preposterous because the Superman S is second only to the Christian Cross in worldwide recognition. And then James Gunn himself blamed the lower than expected foreign performance on anti-Americanism, even though other American-made films were doing well. On the domestic front, his supporters blamed everything from superhero fatigue to the wallet's closed movement to the Snyderverse itself and sometimes Zack Snyder. But that's exactly what Christopher Lee said would happen. And Lee wasn't a prophet. He was merely revealing what he had observed in the behavior of Hollywood producers. And I have to say this. We are in the age of revelation. It started in 2024 and it's accelerating now. We are seeing the lies deconstructed in front of our faces, folks, at lightning speed. There are people over and over again who do not believe that their comments and things are available to the world forever, that we can go back and check. Okay? This generation has no excuse because things are falling apart in front of our faces. The lies are falling apart in front of our faces. They are being disproven at the speed of light. There is no reason for us not to know any of this stuff. So what Christopher Lee said was not prophecy. He was simply saying what they were doing, and we have watched it unfold in front of our face with James Gunn. Going back to what they've been doing surrounding this movie, the excuses and moving the goalposts increased once they realized the film would not make $1 billion. Even though the Rachel Brosnahan quote about Superman dividing the fan base was proven absolutely false, and it was, I still feel like James Gunn's Superman did divide the fan base. Certainly, the infamous orgy scene in Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1 was a deliberate, in-your-face gesture from the director and divided people who otherwise liked the first season, including people like me. James Gunn, unfiltered, is divisive by nature, in my opinion. Certainly his fans are, accusing others of doing what they actually do. His effect on the DC movie and TV fandom reminds me so much of Rian Johnson with Star Wars, who famously said that his idea of a great movie is where half the audience hates it. And I have to ask, why in the hell would a director deliberately put something in a movie or series that they know is going to divide an audience, a fan base, instead of making something that will appeal or have something for all of the fan base? In my opinion, they are deliberately doing this and dividing the people. And just like Rian Johnson broke Star Wars, this Superman movie has officially broken Superman. And I think that James Gunn's mission is to break Batman, but he can't do it. Why? Because what he's doing is unfolding in front of our faces, and people have been on his case before this movie ever got into the theaters, which is why they are so angry. That's a whole nother video on why they are deliberately breaking all these franchises that once united people, and for true fans, still unite people around the world, regardless of language, regardless of sex, sexual identity, race, ethnicity, and politics, which is what the powers that be don't like. Because if you don't care about a person's politics, if they are a fan of something like you and you can interact with them face to face, talking about the thing you love, then that breaks down all of this crap that we have going up above our heads with the governments and things. They don't like that. There's a topic for another video.
Stay on target.
But I digress.
Stay on target.
Like I said, the excuses that they make for the failure of this film not reaching $1 billion, while at the same time declaring that it is soaring to success. And the generated confusion was done on purpose so nobody would ask basic questions, one of which is what I'm asking now. How much money did James Gunn get paid as producer on Superman? Hell, how much does Kevin Feige and Nate Moore make? Consider the reality that Feige is still paid as producer for every Marvel film that comes out and underperforms at the box office, just like James Gunn.
There's a word for that. It's called upward failure. You see it all the time.
The Suicide Squad, with James Gunn as writer and director, was a $100 million to $200 million loss for the studio, but it was profitable for James Gunn because he was paid for his time. He fell upward to the position of DC head with a 7-figure income and to having himself listed as producer on all the future DC studio projects. And so that's what I really wanted to end with. Superman 2025 was highly profitable for James Gunn. And so will his Superman saga, Clayface, and so will Supergirl, even if and when they come out and they bomb at the box office. And the only thing I got to say to all y'all struggling out there with the higher than ever rents and mortgages and food and gas, this is damn nice work if you can get it. Thank you for watching. And also thank you for the 2,000 plus subscribers. I guess we're on that road to 3,000 subscribers now. But again, thank you. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, hit the like button, and please share the video, and I will see you the next time.
The sleeper has awakened!